Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into the Big Friday Kickoff Podcast. I'm Emily Cochran. He's Robert Ristaneo, and we are back for another very special edition of the podcast. Last week, as you all remember, we revealed our 5A through 7A all-region teams, our first and second all-freshman teams. And yeah, we're going to be getting right back into it this week with our 1A through 4A all-region teams and our honorable mentions. So a lot of stuff to break down once again in this episode, but y'all seem to really enjoy last week, so I think it's going to be the same thing this week.
Also, depending on when you're listening to this, we record these on Wednesdays. Emily's birthday is this weekend on Saturday. She'll be turning 23, 24.
Yeah, let's keep let's keep it at that.
But anyway, happy birthday to you. So everyone, make sure you wish Emily a happy birthday.
That's so sweet. I did not expect that at all. Jeez, I forget that it is this week.
Yeah, yep. Saturday, right? I think.
Yeah, it is Saturday.
So there you go, birthday girl over here.
Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate
You're welcome.
Keeping me young.
But yeah, I mean, we can jump right into these teams. This is just kind of a continuation of last episode. I will say something about 1A through 4A is this was a lot more fun and also a little more difficult putting together because you have so many players that play multiple positions once you get down to these lower tiers. So it was really about just identifying the players that we wanted to highlight and finding slots for them. I mean, it's a lot of like, okay, I can put him here and here. Does it make more sense to put him here so that I can put so-and-so here? And also, as we mentioned last week for 5A through 7A, quarterbacks only made the athlete spot if they were a true dual-threat quarterback. And that comes into play a lot with these teams because there are a lot of dual-threat quarterbacks that, were their team's leading rusher and passer, you know what I mean? So those guys I declared eligible for the athlete spot. The true pocket passers were only eligible for the one quarterback spot. So I know one big omission last week that I saw some people mentioning was Alvin Dinkins for Williamson. He's just more of a passer than he is a runner. So I didn't qualify him for that athlete spot. But 4A, I think almost every single one of these teams, 1A through 4A, has a quarterback in the athlete spot. So without further ado, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into the 4A offense. Couple notes about 4A that I just wanted to shout out here. Well, actually, let me read the team first, and then I'll mention something. At quarterback, Gunnar Rivers. Okay.
No surprise here.
Yeah, it was basically between two guys, and I went with Gunnar in this one. Running back, also probably no surprise here. E.J. Crowell, Noah Moss, Jason Todd for Mobile Christian.
Mr. Football, E.J. Crowell.
That's right,
Just found that out yesterday.
Just won Mr. Football. These guys I pretty much put in as soon as I started putting these teams together and never really took them out. Receiver, kind of the same thing. Brody Jones, Tucker Tomlinson for St. Michael, the two top targets there for Gunnar. And then sophomore, Decorius Jackson for Jackson. He was their leading receiver, over 50 catches on the year, over 800 yards receiving. They had some health issues at receiver this year, but this guy was their most consistent weapon out in the passing game, at least. So I wanted to recognize him there. And then at tight end, Braden Smith, another big target for Gunnar. He was one of the best tight ends in 4A, statistically especially. So he was one that I kind of highlighted early. There's one person that almost made this spot that I'll touch on here in a second. But ultimately I went with Braden Smith from St. Michael here. And then on the offensive line, two big guys here for W.S. Neal, Michael Bowens, the Memphis commit, and Kevin Howard, who really came on strong this year and became one of their top offensive linemen. Dylan Tabb for Orange Beach, who also made the North-South game. I guess, what was that, in December last year?
Yeah, they had the North-South and then the Mississippi-Alabama.
Right. He was one of the nominees on the North-South game. And then Maddox Caldwell, same deal for St. Michael. I believe he was also in the North-South game.
I think he was in the Mississippi-Alabama game.
Maybe the Mississippi-Alabama.
And he won, like, all academic.
Yes,
like, really, really smart kids. They're
Right.
not just great at football, great in the classroom as
That's
well.
right. That's right. And then rounding it out, Landon Gardner from Mobile Christian, really strong offensive lineman. I think he's been starting on that offensive line for a couple years now. But he was probably their best guy up front, so I wanted to give him a little shout out. At tight end, it kind of came down to Braden Smith and Lee Steele from Orange Beach. Mm-hmm. But when I went back and watched some games from Lee Steele, he really lined up outside a lot more than he did in that tight end spot, despite the fact that he's 6'6", I think, or 6, however. He's a big kid, and only a sophomore. So that was one reason why I ultimately went with Braden Smith. But I did have Lee Steele in here at one point at tight end for Orange Beach. And then another thing, too, I wanted to shout out. Well, actually, again, I'll mention this one here in a minute because one of these guys is going to come up. Moving over to defense, all right? Starting on the defensive line. One thing about the defense is this literally could have been Jackson's entire starting lineup. That's how productive and good Jackson's defense was and how good some of the players are they had on there. But just to give love to other guys, I tried to mix it up as much as I could to give other people some looks. So Landon Stewart, Mobile Christian, and then 2 Jackson players, Donovan Bozeman and Demetrius Wilson. I think Bozeman and Wilson maybe have been all-state selections. So, no-brainers there. And then DeAndre Hooks for Escambia County, a really talented defensive lineman that's kind of getting some college looks already. So this was a good spot for me to give Escambia County a little bit of love here. In the linebacker spot, St. Michael's top tackler, Nick Russo, wanted to at least give someone from that St. Michael defense a little bit of recognition here. And then again, Laquan Wisenhunt and Jeremiah McKenzie, 2 key contributors for that Jackson defense, really in this run that they've had. I know when we had Noah Moss on the podcast, he mentioned Laquan Wisenhunt as one of the hardest guys he's had to face, so he was going to be a no-brainer on this list. And then I wanted to give the W.S. Neal defense some love here. Jay Ewing, I believe he was their top tackler, but he was one of the most productive guys on that defense. And so shout out to Jay Ewing and W.S. Neal. Wanted to try and put him in there. And then in the secondary, Cleo Bowler, I believe his nickname is Bull for Escambia County. He's a really good basketball player for them, apparently, too. He played quarterback, he played running back, he played receiver, he played DB. He played all over the field for Escambia County, so wanted to give him some love here. Samaje Law, who has been kind of a staple of Mobile Christian the last couple seasons. Really good corner, plays running back, plays receiver. They kind of move him all over the place.
Yeah, he's playing on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I remember going out and shooting Mobile Christian games and watching him just light it up on Friday nights. I mean, he's kind of been their Swiss Army knife this season for sure.
That's right. So shout out to him. And then Turner Tillman here from Orange Beach, the St. Luke's transfer from this season. He kind of played safety, kind of played linebacker, certainly played receiver and a little bit of running back, but I felt good kind of sliding him in here. I just wanted to give him a little bit of recognition on one of these teams. And then Jamarian Juice Gordon for Jackson, one of the best players in 4A. Mm-hmm. I believe North Carolina
yes.
commit. Yeah, I think so. So shout out to him. He was definitely making the team. And then on the special teams and athletes page, kicker and punter, these are 2 kind of special team staples the last couple years in 4A. Patricio Garcia for St. Michael and Carter Lewis for Mobile Christian. They were no-brainers. They were in there, at the very start of this. Kick returner, punt returner, Keegan Chapman for Jackson. This was a good spot for me to kind of get him in here at punt returner. And then Jalen James for Escambia County. He was also a pretty good corner for them, I believe, but had really good special teams numbers, so I wanted to slide him in here at kick returner. And then the final 2 spots at athlete, this is where I've got Landon Duckworth. dual threat quarterback. This made sense to me to kind of give him that athlete slot. And Samorian Clark for W.S. Neal. He's 1,500-yard rusher. He's been kind of the engine of their offense the last couple seasons. He was one that I was going to find a way to get on here regardless. So that is your 4A All-Region 1 team. Any thoughts?
I mean, I think they're all good choices. I definitely really like the fact that, I mean, if you put all three of these running backs on a team, holy moly.
Well, and that was the other thing I wanted to mention too, is that it's not just those three running backs and Samorian Clark. Aiden Key for Orange Beach is somebody who easily could have made a team if he was not in this region with all these other running backs. Jordan Poe for Satsuma was almost 1,000-yard rusher. He could have been almost everyone in this region had a very productive running back that in most other regions would have made one of these teams. Mm-hmm. And same for, if Landon Duckworth wasn't in this region, Jared Crook for W.S. Neal, who threw for almost 2,000 yards, ran for almost 800 yards at quarterback, he easily would have been an athlete spot here too, But there's a lot of high-end talent in this region, and it's deep at some pretty good positions like running back, like quarterback, some good offensive linemen here in this region. So, and like I said, there's like 4 other Jackson defenders that easily could be on this team, but just for the sake of balance, kind of had to bump a few of them to honorable mention. So,
yeah, I mean, these are definitely names that we're talking about week in and week out during the season. I mean, when we're doing our late night show, doing highlights, I mean, you're hearing these names each and every week. I mean, they're making big plays. They show up when it matters most. I think you made some really great choices. I mean, I feel good about it.
Yeah. So, that's 4A. I guess, do we want to go ahead and move on over to 3A?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I love that it's like I'm looking at these names and I'm like, dang, these are a lot of our like player of the week guys that we've had throughout the entire season. So that also feels good to know that we've recognized them in that way, and then you're getting to see them on these teams. So go ahead and kick things off with our 3A All-Region offense. Not surprised by this quarterback at all.
Yes. So quarterback, we went Davis Barnett. For this position, flip-flopped between Shamar Tootle and Davis Barnett for a lot of the season. Ultimately ended up going with Barnett here. At running back, Zy Martin for Flomaton, Caden Gwynn for Cottage Hill, and Brendan Yamani for Bayside. All very talented running backs. Flomaton honestly kind of had a little bit of a 3-headed monster kind of situation at running back. But I went with Zy Martin over Antoine Bowen, mainly because of the amount of carries and the efficiency. I just kind of made the decision there to do it that way. At receiver, Camden Martin for Flomaton. He easily could have gone in at cornerback too. He played both ways for the Hurricanes. Walker Collins, the top receiver there for Bayside. He was going to be a no-brainer for me. And then Josiah Grace for Hillcrest Evergreen. He was a guy that did a lot of different things for them, and this was a good spot for me to kind of give Hillcrest Evergreen a little bit of love here. And then at tight end, T.R. Miller, Maddox Smith. They really leaned on their tight end a lot this year. He had a lot of catches, some really good numbers, was very productive for T.R. Miller. So he was a good candidate here at tight end. And there are some talented tight ends in 3A that also play multiple positions. Monroe Parton for Bayside, one of the best linebackers in the state, but he was also like right behind Walker Collins in terms of catches and yards, at that tight end spot. So, but I felt like he made more sense as a defender, which we'll get into here in a second. On the offensive line, Owen Philippi, he was Bayside's, I think, best offensive lineman this year. Alan Green for Cottage Hill, again, another offense where the offensive line was a big part of it, so this was a good spot for me to get him in there. Tucker Lambeth, who I believe last year was an all-state selection. This year, I believe he was either an honorable mention or he did make all-state, but he's kind of been a staple down there for Flomaton. CJ Gibson for TR Miller, same deal. He's been playing on both sides of those lines for TR Miller the last couple seasons, so this was a good spot for me to get him in there. And then Zachariah Cobb, who made All-State this year as an offensive lineman for Hillcrest Evergreen. Very talented O-lineman. And what I like about 3A, and you see a lot of it here on this team, is kind of the balance across all the teams in 3A. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different teams represented on this 3A offense, which 5 out of 7 teams, that ain't bad, So I like being able to kind of spread it out as much as possible. Moving over to defense. Caleb Metzner kicking off the defensive line here for the 3A defense. He was somebody that I literally could have put at almost any position. I mean, he was that productive this year.
He's an absolute stud. Also very talented at basketball from what I hear.
Oh, really?
So he's really good basically at everything he does.
Seems like it, yeah.
Big kid, very talented. If I didn't see his name anywhere, I would be highly confused. So yeah, this is kind of a no-brainer. Makes complete sense.
Yep. Aiden Hackner for TR Miller, another guy. I believe he was either All-State this year or last year, but he's been a staple on the TR Miller trenches. And then Will Allen for Bayside, Guy Murphy for Flomaton, 2 other just really talented linemen who play both ways for their teams. At linebacker, a lot of familiar names here. Billy Neal for Bayside, Monroe Parton for Bayside, Shadarius Tootle for Cottage Hill. Those guys were going to be here. They were put in there with pen, not pencil, as soon as I started putting these teams together. And then Braden Phillips for Flomaton, who I believe did have 100 tackles on the year or almost had 100 tackles on the year. He was one of their best defenders all season. So just wanted to, over 100 tackles, 114 tackles. I mean, very productive linebacker for the Hurricanes, who were a playoff team. And then at DB, Marquise English, who during his time at TR Miller has played running back, he's played receiver, he's played DB, he's played kick returner. So this was a good spot for me to kind of give him a little bit of love here. 2 Cottage Hill DBs, J.J. Davis and Exias Thomas. I may be pronouncing that wrong. But, I mean, interception machines, pass deflection machines, just really, really productive players. And Thomas also very productive special teams player also in the kick and punt return game. And then Jay Lowry, who is kind of a safety linebacker hybrid, but was the top tackler for Hillcrest Evergreen, one of their more productive players across the board in terms of kind of stat sheet stuffing on defense. So I wanted to give him a little bit of love here. Special teams, Flomaton's Braden Nall at kicker and Jack Wilkinson for Bayside at punter. Kick returner and punt returner, Lance Presley from Flomaton, who was also a very talented corner. And Noah Kane for Bayside, who could have been at any position.
You could have put him anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another kid that, I've also seen him play in person, just very talented, does it all over the field for the Admirals. So, yeah, happy to see his name here.
Yep. And then 2 quarterbacks here in the athlete spot, TJ Hansen for TR Miller. TR Miller kind of ran a weird 2-quarterback system. TJ Hansen was much more of a runner than their other quarterback was. But really productive player for TR Miller, so this was a good spot for me to kind of give him some love. And then, as we mentioned, Shamar Tootle, he was almost the first-team quarterback, but there was no doubt with his dual threat ability that he was going to make an athlete spot here. So, there is your 3A all-region team.
I wonder how often brothers end up on all-region teams together.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
because we've got Shadarius and Shamar, the Tootle boys. I know that Shamar is going to be at our Player of the Year banquet.
Very nice.
On Tuesday. A lot of these guys are Davis Barnett, Brennan Yamani, Shamar. So we're talking about all this talent right here. We get to have them all in the same room on Tuesday night for our Player of the Year banquet.
And shout out to Holden Stacy at Excel. He was a guy that was right there on the edge for me for making this team. He's been a guy that started for them the last couple years. He was probably their most productive player this year. Very good for him last year, so he was right there on the cusp, but is definitely in our honorable mention category.
Well, ready to go into our 2A all-region offense?
Let's do it. We're moving through these today.
Proud of us.
Staying on key, all right? That's what we got to do here.
We try.
All right, so 2A offense. Couple things real quick before we get into this. Big quarterback battle. I had this quarterback. This quarterback was someone different like 8 different times, okay? I really struggled trying to decide which one I wanted to put here. Ultimately, your 2A All-Region 1 offense quarterback is Connor Williams for Washington County. Statistically, I think he was the third in passing yards in all of 2A. This was the best offense in 2A Region 1. And so ultimately, I decided to go with him, a true passer, not one of these guys who is just the best athlete that they put at quarterback and he runs a lot and he throws. He is a true drop back, throw the ball quarterback, which is hard to find in the 1A and 2A regions. So
absolutely.
And they were a productive offense. I mean, they averaged like over 30 points a game. So Connor Williams, Washington County, you were the quarterback for the 2A all-region offense. 3 very talented running backs here, Jaden Stallworth for Blackshear, O'Marion Hammond for Clark County, and Lagan Rowland also from Blackshear. Blackshear, all they do is run the ball. You may see their quarterback come up here in a minute at a non-quarterback position, but over 1,000 yards rushing for the quarterback, and these running backs are right there with him. So that's how they play ball over there. At receiver, Ty Owens for Washington County. There were really 3 receivers from Washington County that all could have been here. The other 2 kind of played different positions as well, so I decided to slide them in at their other spots as opposed to receiver to make a little room for some other guys. But Ty Owens, the Washington County receiver that made the receiver spot. For Clark County, Isaiah Davis, he was their top receiver, also played cornerback. Typical Clark County fashion, all their guys were kind of stat sheet stuffers in multiple spots, so it's really just about finding where I could put these guys in at. And then Cydrus Gilmore for Chickasaw. This was one that I knew I wanted to get in here. He's been one of the best athletes in this region for the last couple seasons, and he had a very productive year with their freshman quarterback now. Make sure I get his name, with Jaden Collins, who made our all freshman team. And then at tight end, Landon Dearman, another pass catcher there for Connor Williams at Washington County. Top offense there in 2A Region 1. On the offensive line, John Murray for JU Blackshear, Baker Farnell for St. Luke's, Charlie Jordan and Dominic Grayson from Clark County, and Jesse Johnson from Washington County. Congratulations to you guys. Moving on to the defense. 2 St. Luke's guys here, Carter Spivey, Mac Boone. They've been key players for St. Luke's the last couple seasons, so this was an easy pick for me. It's really with these St. Luke's guys, it's just what side of the ball do you want to put them on, because these guys were also offensive linemen. Their linebackers and DBs also played running back and receiver, so it's really just about where you want to slide those guys in at.
I wonder, a lot of these guys, once you get down 4A through 1A, like they really are playing on both sides of the ball. Some of these kids are playing every single snap.
Yes.
I mean, you have to get your body in shape during the offseason to be prepared. You're basically playing a full football game. You're not really coming off the field. So, it's just interesting to see these guys that, we're putting him here, but we see him play so much on the other side of the ball too. So it's just, I know that's got to be difficult trying to place them where you want to place them. It
becomes real difficult for one team in particular when we get to 1A, and I'll explain it when we get there. So joining Carter Spivey and Mac Boone on the defensive line, Keegan Strength for JU Blackshear, and Ken Walker for Chickasaw, who had a very good year for them. Moving to the linebacker spot, Jeremy Thomas for Chickasaw, Hayden Dotson and Gavin Washington for Clark County. They're 2 kind of holdovers from the previous, that senior class that was so successful at Clark County. these were the guys a grade below those guys who were also very productive during that run. So wanted to give them a little bit of love here. And then Major Thomas for JU Blackshear. He was their leading tackler. Also could have been put on offense, but he was their best linebacker and best defender probably. So this was a good spot for me to get him. In the secondary, two more Clark County boys here, Javen Denson and Keandre Hill. Two guys that could have been anywhere. As we keep mentioning it. Hayden Wilkinson for Washington County. He was the one that I could have also put at receiver very easily, but kind of found a good spot for him at DB. And then Jathan Richardson for St. Luke's, also coming in there at DB. Moving on to special teams and athlete here. Ryland Yazarek for St. Luke's as the kicker. And then Lucas Weaver from JU Blackshear at punter. Kick returner and punt returner, we got Keelan May for Washington County at kick returner. Also could have been at receiver. And Javion James for Clark County also could have been at DB. I believe he had like 4 or 5 interceptions for them this year. He was kind of one of their top corners. And then at athlete, JU Blackshear, Hunter White, he was their quarterback this year, ran for over 1,000 yards. They do not throw the ball much, but he is very productive as a rusher out of the quarterback spot. And then Talon Safran, who was kind of somebody that did it all for St. Luke's this year. Let me pull his stats up here. Yeah, almost 500 rushing yards, over 150 kick return yards, 8 total touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions on defense, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. One of those guys that played all over the field for St. Luke's. So this was another good spot for me to give him a little bit of love. So.
What'd you say? Did you say Talon?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if his name was Talon.
Or it may be Talon. Maybe it is.
I mean, it could be. I'm just sitting here looking at it. I was like, huh.
It might be Talon. It might be.
Some of these, I'll give you credit where credit is due. Some of these names are hard.
St. Luke's in particular had a lot of.
They got some interesting first and last names. So shout out to you for taking a crack at these names. I'm hoping that most of them are correct. They sound correct to me.
Yeah, no, they're definitely right. And two kind of honorable mention guys from St. Luke's also, Riley Hines, Heinz, and Jamari Amey, Amey. So like the entire St. Luke's team, it was like, I honestly, putting this together, started getting them mixed up in my head. I was like, wait, haven't I put Ryland Yazarek? Wasn't he the one that I put at running back? And I'd go ahead and be like, no, that was Talon Safran. And I was like, oh, okay, hang on, it was hard to keep it up with a little bit, but
that's interesting.
All deserving players nonetheless. So, that is your 2A Region 1 team, really kind of dominated by Clark County, Washington County, JU Blackshear, and St. Luke's. Got as much Chickasaw in there as we could. It was a little limited on information for them, but I think I was able to get kind of their key guys. So, there is your 2A Region 1 team.
Good deal. Well, now let's move on to our 1A all-region offense.
Yes.
Some really good players on this team. I'm seeing a lot of Leroy guys, which I love. I have a special place in my heart for the Leroy Bears. So go ahead and kick things off with our quarterback. It's one of our former Player of the Week recipients.
Yes. Really, really quick before I get to 1A, I do just want to mention Peebo Pugh for Clark County. He was the quarterback that I swapped back and forth a million times with Connor Williams here. But Peebo is only a sophomore. Connor Williams is a junior. I felt like Connor was a better passer. Their offense put up better points, and I just really liked what Hunter White and Talon Safran did for their teams. Peebo Pugh will be on one of these teams next season. I've got no doubt about it. And someone I could have put at cornerback, to be honest with you. But just wanted to mention him. Okay, down to 1A. This was the quarterback battle, another quarterback battle that I went back and forth on all year. I had one guy in here all the way up, basically until round 3 of the playoffs, and then I was like, you know what? Got to go with the other guy here.
Okay.
So Jay Sellers is the starting quarterback here for the 1A All-Region 1 offense, the Leroy Bears quarterback. I did have Braden Dixon here pretty much all year. He put up amazing numbers for McIntosh. Was once a player for Leroy and took his talents to McIntosh, and they had one of their best seasons in the last 15 years, and he was a huge, huge part of it. So McIntosh gets its love on this list, but Braden Dixon, I mean, he was right there with Jay Sellers. At running back, Jacavian Collins, no doubt about that. Leroy Bears, Jaden Brown for McIntosh, also no doubt about that. Those are two of the top rushers in 1A. And Deion Blanks for Sweetwater, which when you watch Sweetwater, Deion Blanks looks like he's like 6'7" playing running back with all these 1A kids. I mean, he is just so much bigger than everybody else. It's kind of impressive to watch. So shout out to Deion Blanks there up in Sweetwater. At receiver, Josh Reed for Leroy, Josh Harris for McIntosh. No questions there. And then the most fun team to try and place on this list, the Southern Choctaw Indians. Right here we've got Jamari Daly at receiver and DeMarco Johnson at tight end. Let me read you these stats for Southern Choctaw real quick, because honestly, these guys have some of the craziest stats you've ever seen. So Jamari Daly, 33 tackles, 2 picks, 9 pass deflections, also had 359 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, 206 kick return yards.
Wow.
Okay, so that's him. DeMarco Johnson, who I put at tight end, had 336 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 93 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 5 fumble recoveries, 5 total touchdowns.
Holy
And that
guacamole.
is every Southern Choctaw player I'm going to mention puts up stupid numbers on both sides of the ball. So they were very hard to place, but I enjoyed placing them because I like crazy stat sheets like that.
You are the king of the stat sheet.
I love crazy stat
You
sheets
should
like
go
that.
do like analytics for a team or something with as much as you love numbers and stats.
Also, speaking of Southern Choctaw here on the offensive line, we've got Dalen Coker here. We've got him on the offensive line. He also had 89 tackles, 2 interceptions, 3 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and a defensive touchdown. So easily could have been on the defensive line.
Yeah, definitely could have.
A couple Leroy Bears here, Tim Parnell and Davin Chastain. Tim Parnell, have they announced the back and lineman of the year yet?
For 1A?
Yeah. I know they announced the finalist.
I haven't seen anything on Twitter.
Okay, I don't think they have
That's
yet.
typically where I get it.
But I believe he's going for his 3rd straight lineman of the year in 1A. So shout
Repeat.
out. Yeah, shout out to Tim Parnell there. Jaquez Dixon for Sweetwater and Ethan Woods for McIntosh round out the offensive line. Moving down to the defense. Couple Leroy Bears here off the top. Sawyer Sullivan, Braxton Roberts. Sawyer Sullivan, been one of Leroy's best players the last couple seasons. I was definitely going to be finding a spot for him on here. Braxton Jenkins for Millery, one of our 2 Millery selections on this list. I really would have liked to have had a little bit more Millery represented here. But unfortunately, we were just given Jenkins and another player that we'll mention here in a second. So shout out to Braxton Jenkins. And then Devontae Tucker for Marengo, who also made the North-South game, or the Mississippi-Alabama game. He made one of the 2 games. Very talented defensive lineman up there for Marengo. At linebacker, Jacob Graham, our other Millery selection here. Very, very deserving. DJ Marshall here for Leroy. And Cavante Diamond for McIntosh, who was a very productive player for them last year. Really stepped his game up this year, was kind of the leader of that defense, I think. So shout out to to Cavante Diamond there. And then our final linebacker pick, Kyler Nicholson from Southern Choctaw. Let me just read you these real quick.
Oh, you got some more crazy stats for me?
623 passing yards, 646 rushing yards, 55 tackles, 15 touchdowns. I mean, all these guys. It's crazy.
I mean, but you really do, especially in 1A and 2A. Like
Yes.
like I said earlier, you're playing every single snap.
Yeah.
So, like, it makes sense.
Yes.
It really does make sense, especially when you get down to 1A. I mean, that's how it goes when it's small town football like that.
But, that was a team that made round 3, I think. Yeah, of the playoffs. So, I mean, that they weren't just putting up empty calorie numbers. You know what I mean? Okay, and then moving to the secondary here, Kingfisher for Marengo. He was a guy that played also quarterback for them at some points, played running back, kind of played all over the place. I believe he got injured towards the end of the year, but very talented young player. I believe he's only a sophomore, so definitely we'll be hearing his name in the near future. Keegan Giles for Leroy. Guy could have put at receiver. You could have put him at kick returner, but DB, this was a good spot for him. Daquan Norwood for Sweetwater and Kyle Reed for McIntosh round out the secondary there on the defense. Moving to special teams, couple Fruitdale Pirates here. Trenton Turner at punter and Gage Sullivan at kick returner. Give a little love there to the Fruitdale Pirates. Kicker Gabe Posey for Leroy and Corey Yelder at punt returner. Yelder was a guy that could have played receiver, DB, could have put him a bunch of different places. So, put him right here at punt returner. And then a couple more Southern Choctaw players here to round out the athlete spot. We got Ray Bender here. Do you want to hear Ray Bender's stats?
Give them to me. I know you want to share them.
257 passing yards, 1,100 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns. And then we got Christopher Bush here, who had 45 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 696 rushing yards, and 9 touchdowns. So those two round out our athlete spots right there. Southern Choctaw didn't really get any love in the All-State selection, so I wanted to try and give them as much as they deserved here on this team, and I think I did a pretty good job with it. So there's your 1A team, and there's 4A through 1A, Emily.
A lot of do-it-all guys.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely more so than 5A through 7A for sure.
That's what makes doing the lower seeds.
So it's so much more difficult.
It's more difficult
But it's
and
more
more fun at the
yeah.
same time. You know what I mean? Because you're really digging through numbers and like kind of figuring some stuff out.
I mean,
so.
it's like kind of building a puzzle, but
It
you're
is.
having to like move. It's almost like you're building multiple puzzles at the same time.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, it's like almost like Tetris in a way, finding
Yes.
what fits and how it works
Yep.
best. But yeah, I think that all in all, like with all the work that you've put in and giving these kids the recognition they deserve, I think is so important. I know we have a long list of honorable mentions. How many players did you say was on our honorable mentions list?
113.
So we obviously cannot go through the names of 113 kids here, but that is going to be on our website, fox10tv.com, under the Big Friday Kickoff tab. It will be attached to this podcast episode. 113 players that.
And I was telling you earlier, I still feel like I'm leaving like kids off on every single list. Like, there was a part of me that didn't even want to do an honorable mention because then it's like, where do you draw the line with honorable mention? But regardless, I think we picked from the 496 best players in Region 1. Really, that's the honorable mention list, and I promise you, if you think you deserve to be on one of these teams, you are on the long list. I can promise you that.
Oh yeah, if y'all could see Robert's Excel spreadsheets and all his stuff, like he has been trying to piece this together for a while.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of kids that could have been on this team that didn't make it. I promise you're on that list of like, okay, should you move them up or
Yeah.
do you place them here? What can you do? And I think it just goes to show that we have so much talent in Region 1.
Yeah.
so much talent. I mean, we have so many kids that get to move on and play at the next level in college and then ultimately move on and play in the NFL. I think the Mobile and surrounding area between Mobile, Baldwin County, and then as far up as, Jackson, and then as far as Grand Bay and
Escambia County.
Yeah, we just have so much talent in our, chunk of Region 1 and guys that go play at the highest level. And it all starts right here at the high school level. And just getting to showcase that talent. The fact that we even get to cover you guys week in and week out, we are so honored and so lucky. So the chance to honor you in return, especially Robert, how much work he's put into this is really, really special to us. So
yeah, and I'm glad that you all like it and engage with it and appreciate it, because it's not about us trying to be right or trying to, be the smartest people in the room. It's really about us just trying to give as many players some recognition from, the platform that we're able to, that we have, So, yeah, I'm glad everyone liked 5A through 7A. Hopefully everyone likes these. And, yeah, this will have to be an annual tradition, I think.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it's something that Robert will start building from the time the season starts.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot of fun and something we're going to look forward to each and every year. Robert, just let them know where exactly to go find it, because you can also go find 5A through 7A as well.
Yeah, so we'll have you can go to the Big Friday under sports on the Fox 10 TV website. There's a Big Friday kickoff tab. You can scroll down to the bottom where our podcast is. You can go to the podcast section on our website. We've got the teams attached to their respective podcast episodes. This podcast episode will have the 5A through 7A podcast linked to it as well, so you can easily click between them. And then we'll put all these graphics that we made up on social media, so you all can share them and do whatever you like with them. So
yeah, we appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, download, listen anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, our website, fox10tv.com, on YouTube. We appreciate you guys so much for listening and supporting us, and in turn supporting you guys. So it's been so much fun doing this. Looking ahead to next week, we do have our Player of the Year banquet, like I kind of mentioned earlier. It is going to be at Moe's Barbecue downtown at 6 p.m. Going to be recognizing 15 very special athletes. I know that there is a little chunk of them that will not be able to make it, and that's because they're already moving on and playing at the next level. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's just something that comes with the game at this time of year. A lot of kids, they graduate early and they move on, and they're already getting ready to play college ball and prepare for the 2026 football season. Yeah. So, super excited to recognize all those kids. We will have some live coverage starting out there probably between 4 and 5. Then the banquet kicks off at 6, and then we'll have your full recap Wednesday night at 10. So, we're going to also have to figure out what we're going to do podcast-wise next week, since we have the banquet, on Tuesday, and with what we're going to do. Maybe we'll try and see if we could get our winner back on, possibly. Who knows? Don't know. Senior Bowl also kicks off next week, so it's going to be a extremely busy week. So a lot of good things to look forward to here on the Big Friday Kickoff podcast.
No doubt.
Alrighty, Robert. Well, that is a wrap. Thank y'all so much for sticking with us as we have revealed our all-region teams. 1A through 7A.
There we go. They're
our
out.
all-freshman teams, honorable mentions, all the good stuff. Make sure you find that on our website, fox10tv.com. Let's get on out of here.
Yeah.
I'm Emily Cochran. He's Robert Ristaneo. This is the Big Friday Kickoff Podcast, and we will see you guys next week.